Hey, if you're just coming into this, my name is Ryan Janke. I am joined by Dayna Mashevsky, Sarah DeYoung, and Pastor DJ Lura.
Oh, God bless you, folks. It's 2024, and it's off the rails.
Yep. Takes a long time.
You know, maybe we should invest a little bit in some sound effects and go beyond the little red box.
You can add things
honestly,
onto the
what
board.
we need to do is do all of these and then make a cheat sheet of like this.
what means what?
Symbol means this actual noise.
Have
Because
a
I don't.
laminated.
That one's just fun.
It is.
Sometimes
That's when
I'm
you
like,
prove a point.
But I'd like to get ones that have like Stone Cold Steve Austin's theme
well,
music.
we kind of have a little bit.
Which one, Ryan? What, the light bulb?
He knows what it sounds like. The
Nope.
yeah. Well, yeah,
Yeah, that was it. Kind of.
kind of.
Just a little drawn out.
All right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we are back. We are gonna make serious hay on this episode because
See, this is the
we
thing.
have
we
to after the last
have
one.
a system. The first episode never makes any sense.
Uh-huh.
Then we actually finally start doing.
And that's where
And
we are
then-
now.
Does the second episode make any sense?
Well, it's gonna.
We
We're about
slowly
to find
work
out.
into making sense. The last one we record is always
Yeah.
the most biblical,
We're gonna get there at some point.
All right.
except for last one.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, hit it.
All right. These are my two questions that Dana and I feel like we've talked about this in our podcast after
I
the
just
podcast.
don't remember what the second one is about in your questions.
I sort of do. Do you want to
Okay.
start with that one or do you want to start with the first one?
We'll start with the first one.
Okay.
Actually, no. What's
This is
happening
back,
on that one.
I think, from when we were talking about like rules around marriage, things like that I don't remember how many episodes ago it was.
like a long time.
Yeah.
Rules
So-
like happy wife, happy life,
Sure.
or
Or like the
I can be happy or I can be right, but I can't be both.
maybe.
No.
These are the rules
All
that I
right,
live by.
These are the rules I signed off on. What?
Ask your question.
All right. Do the ideals and rules in the Bible around marriage only apply if you've done a legal marriage ceremony, or can it apply if you have like vowed monogamy or have like done a spiritual ceremony, or does it need to be like sign the dotted line paper?
Gotcha.
Or is it is it similar to like something you can just adapt into your own principles and how you act in a relationship or something like
Yes.
that?
Do you actually have to go through the legal process?
It's more of
Wow.
like ask a lawyer question.
That's actually a rather deep question.
Yeah.
Don't sound so surprised, Ryan.
Well, no, because
You think we can't be deep?
Yeah, no, but by deep it's a bit.
I just got that. Wow. Good job, guys. Deep question.
A plus.
Somebody ate their Wheaties that morning.
What I meant was it could be a bit
I'm
controversial
turning
as
30
well.
this year, man.
that's
I
right.
have wisdom,
That's right.
according to DJ.
Go back to the last episode.
You
You'll
got
get
a
that.
gray hair.
I do.
I don't know if I said wisdom. What I said is I feel bad for you because you think you've been having a good time. You've been having a horrible
In the
time.
staff meeting yesterday, you said I will have wisdom.
Oh, yes. That's true. Wise. Anyway,
Okay.
back to...
Also,
Yeah.
if you're gonna make fun of my gray hair,
I don't have any. Mine are platinum.
Silver.
Okay, what?
Do you want to feel the... What do you
Yeah.
guys think? I mean, that is a lot.
Mhm.
So answer it yourself. How would you answer it?
I mean, I would kind of say yes, because I think for
well, I also think didn't the legal aspect of it come later
yeah,
in
I would
terms of
think. I guess I don't know.
So when you say yes to what? I guess I don't.
I would say that like if you're in a long-term serious relationship of somebody, like you treat them similar to how you would treat like a husband or a wife, of like the obeying, the having respect for one another, that type of like
Sure.
relationship around it, versus like I'm not just gonna like go and do whatever I want type of thing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
the whole I didn't sign any piece of paper,
Yeah.
so I don't have to.
Exactly. Like, I think but Ryan, I can see what you mean by it gets controversial of like, because people have different like understandings and definitions of relationships and things like that. And
Some people need a legal
Yeah.
document.
like for the people, I think it's a very common, like I always think about like everybody has an aunt or an uncle that's been dating somebody for like
Oh, yeah.
30 plus years, and now
Sure.
And you're
they've
like,
lived
they're married
exactly,
at this
like
point.
like that's my uncle, that's my aunt, and they've just been there forever. They're basically married, but they've just never done the like legal side of it. But you always think of them as married.
Yeah.
Sure.
Interesting.
Any other thoughts?
What are you looking at me for?
Because I don't know if you weighed in or not.
Oh,
Okay.
yes, I did.
So what I would say is, can you repeat the question again? No, not just because I want to.
Do the ideals and rules in the Bible around marriage only apply if you have done a legal marriage ceremony, or could it apply if you've vowed monogamy to another person,
Okay,
or done like a spiritual ceremony type of
gotcha.
something?
Well, I would say that it should apply if. So here's where I was saying that it can get controversial, right? Where, if you come at it from different places, and this is why it's taking me a second to answer. If you are a Christian and you want to be in a and DJ will probably, you can slice me up on this and that's okay. But
No.
if you're Christian and you love God and you love people and you have taken this person to be your wife or your husband, and you do a ceremony before God and before family and everything like that, then I would say that, to me, that should be good enough. Where we get into problems is when the government comes in and says that they, nothing's legit unless we say it's legit. And then you've got, where am I going now with this? Like, if you are a Christian and you love one another and you're doing it for the purposes that God intended it for, then it shouldn't matter, because you're loving your spouse because you love God and you're doing it biblically. If you're doing it because of legal purposes, you could be doing it for all sorts of things, right? You could be doing it for tax breaks. You could be doing it for, right? Yeah. I mean, so
Oh, yeah.
So it's one of those.
That was in my vows, actually. It was for the tax breaks. I do.
But you know what I mean?
But I think it goes to like the big, because I always feel like there's the people who never end up getting married. So you always kind of like wonder. You're like, well, what does that mean? Like, but
Right.
clearly
Does
they
that
have made
still
a
apply to
promise to
them?
one another and
right.
to be lifelong monogamous or whatever. So
There are also,
Does that
I know a
same,
couple
like-
that like don't want to do it because
Exactly.
of legal reasons.
Yeah.
They're like,
Well,
no,
but-
it's too much hassle.
But I think now that it's gone to a point where if it's not done on the legal side, then people just feel like, well, I can just walk away and whatever, so then it doesn't matter as much.
Fair.
But I think that if you are doing things biblically, then you should be doing things biblically, whether it's legal or not, right?
Yeah, and I think it's a great question. And what I'm going to say is a lot. So I want you guys to say all that you need to say or want to say before I weigh in.
Okay. I do better when I write, when I have these big thoughts, because my head is all over the place.
No, I got you. You guys have anything else you want to add?
no.
I guess I have a slightly off question. If you were to, like, as a pastor, do a wedding for a couple, does that automatically make it legally binding?
No.
Okay.
You have to go to the courthouse.
Right.
and-
So you like, if they
I'm
don't
sure-
give you the piece of paper to be like, can you sign our marriage license? Then it's not actually legally.
No,
Okay.
what a pastor does, if they're a recognized pastor by the state,
Yeah.
is we are authorized to perform legal marriages where we serve as an officer of the state
Yeah.
Right.
in that capacity
Yeah.
as pastor. And this goes back to common law before there was even the United States.
Yeah.
Well, there is no common law marriage in North Dakota. I don't know if a lot of people
Right.
know that.
Yeah.
I mean common law, like British law, like
Yeah,
what our law is
right.
based off of, is the common law of Western
But
society.
if they don't want to do the legal marriage,
So
they don't go and get that piece of paper from the courthouse, then it's not. Got it.
Right.
So is somebody legally? When is somebody legally married? Like, if So Tabitha and I had to go and get a marriage certificate from the courthouse. And we
Yeah.
probably did that, I'm going to guess now, like a week or 2 weeks or whatever before we actually got married. So what is our actual wedding date then?
By the office.
So the date. So there's a couple
it's
things.
by the date of signature.
Yeah. So you have some legal requirements. One is you get the license, but the license has not been actualized until the marriage ceremony, the signing of the document, and the announcement publicly of the ratification of the document. I now pronounce you husband and wife.
Okay.
But those don't always happen in that order.
Right. So it kind of flows. All those things have to fall into place, and then you are legally married according to, the principle of the document, because it's a document. It's a binding contract.
Yeah.
And so the activation of the binding contract is when everything has been signed and it's been announced publicly. So it's usually the day, not down to the minute, of the wedding ceremony.
Okay.
When all those things come into place. But I've done weddings where I've had the couple sign it in advance, and during the ceremony, I'll have the witnesses, which is usually the best man and the maid or matron of honor, when the couple's lighting their unity candle or mixing their unity sand or tying their unity knot or whatever, doing their unity hula hoop dance, whatever it may be.
Yeah. Skydiving.
Yes. Usually at that point is when I will invite the best man, and not everyone does this. In fact, I've not seen a lot of people do it aside from me and maybe a few others. I'll have them come and sign the
doing
document
the signing publicly
during the ceremony. So there's many witnesses to the legally binding part of it. They as soon as the couple files, their name is on it. So the signature is my signature, or whoever the officiant is, and the witnesses. They all have to be of legal age. And in the state of Minnesota, I'm registered. North Dakota, they don't care. Minnesota, I'm registered in a county,
Classic
so
North
I have to
Dakota.
write the county. And it used to be back in the day, I had to write the book and the page that my name is written in.
Yeah.
So because my name is written in the book of marriage.
That's awesome.
Yeah, in Minnesota. I don't know how awesome that is. So all that stuff is the necessary binding part for the state to recognize the contract.
Okay.
Okay, and that's what it is. It's a binding contract.
Yeah.
From a legal point of view. But
Right.
what you guys are talking about is more kind of, what is marriage in general, and how do you recognize it? And so that would be the first question that I would ask, because our society has been moving probably since the 70s, maybe even sooner, but it's really kind of become a new definition of what makes a marriage. And nothing against the generation before me, because my generation's the same too, in the thinking of this. But it became ratified in law in in the 2000s. I can't remember when exactly, where there's a new definition of what makes marriage. That's not the traditional definition that goes back into ancient history of what makes a marriage.
In a perfect world, you wouldn't need the contract.
In a perfect world, you wouldn't need the contract, correct? And from the church perspective, especially the Lutheran Church, the move in the Lutheran Church was to remove the religious ceremony of the blessing of the marriage from the binding, from the contractual binding. So Luther would say, rather than having a pastor be the state's witness, go to the courthouse, get legally married at the courthouse, then come to church and let us bless the union.
Okay.
So you have these movements throughout history where it's one or the other, because in Luther's time, the only people who could marry anybody were the priests, and it was a sacrament. It was something more than what the Lutheran tradition and the Protestant Reformation teaches of what marriage is. It's I shouldn't say it's not more, it's not less, it's different than this idea of it as a sacrament, that in the church, in the Western Church and in the Eastern Church, so the Greek and the Latin Church, prior to the Lutheran Reformation in the 1500s, okay, so you got to go back 500 years. it was understood that marriage was a sacrament, and every sacrament in the church were these events in your life where you become closer to God. Well, the Lutherans rejected that and said nowhere in the Bible does it say that marriage is a sacrament. Rather, marriage is a divine institution. It's a different thing. A sacrament is a mystery of God's grace. A divine institution are those institutions in life that have been ordained by God. Marriage is one of those. Whether people like it or not, at least from the church's perspective, marriage is an ordained institution because God established it at the beginning. He made them male and female and united them together for a specific purpose. Okay. So here's the question that I get to break down what is marriage all about. What makes a marriage? What defines it? Another way to think about that is what do you need for a marriage to be there where it and without that, it's no longer a marriage?
Two people who want to commit to being together and like
doing things
life
together.
Boom. Okay. So the key word
Coexisting.
The key word is commit. Our society has said, no, marriage is not about commitment. Marriage is about love. Love, true love. You know, love is the reason that we are here together today. And true, marriage is within love, but marriage is not defined by love. Marriage is defined by commitment. So here's the hard fact about marriage, and I want you to think about the question that you asked based on this statement. Unless there's a ring on that finger, all bets are off. How does that change your statement? If you're not invested whole hog, if you don't got skin in the game,
fair,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter.
That's a good point.
And that's the thing. I mean, I can say to someone, and we do this all the time, you're my best friend. And I'm looking right at Ryan. You're my best friend, Ryan. And I can mean it.
I told you guys.
And I can mean it in the moment. But as soon as things don't go my way,
As soon as Ryan leaves, changes job.
Well, that's why he made you sign that piece of paper.
you know, as soon as the Broncos beat the Seahawks, stupid Ryan and his stupid Broncos.
We'll never be friends again.
That's right.
He's dead.
You're dead to me. I'm taking my ball and I'm going home.
Yeah.
Marriage and the binding contract in marriage, the legal aspect is what gives consequence. So that if this relationship, if this commitment is broken, there's a consequence to it. Who is invested in a marriage?
Unless they did a prenup.
Yeah, well, even then, there's going to be consequence because of the breakup of the union. There's now going to have to be more. Some people think it's going to be less cost. It's more costs. It's more costly because there are more than just the married couple that are invested in this union. So that means that there are many, in a legal sense, there are many parties that have damage or harm that's done to them if there's a dissolution of this union. Okay? Just like any other legal contract. So think about who are actually, why is marriage necessary and who is actually harmed by the dissolution of marriage?
Like the act of getting married?
Like
or the breaking up of it?
A breaking up of a marriage, who does it affect?
It depends on if they have kids.
Yeah.
Who are the parties that are affected by it?
The families, shared friends.
Yeah.
Okay. So children, the community, who else?
God.
Two people who are married.
The two people that were in partnership are now no longer in partnership. And the way I've heard it is it's no different than someone who's become a widow or a widower, except the corpse is still walking around. And you can bump into them at the supermarket.
Yeah.
But not only that, though, the state. The state has a vested interest in binding committed relationships because that is the building block of any foundation. You forget about North Dakota. North Dakota is only as good as its many households that make up the state of North Dakota. So even the state has a vested interest in a healthy family unit because that's the next generation.
Is that why they asked me and Tab if we were related before they would give us a marriage license?
Yes, that's a bit of it. Yeah.
That was the weirdest question I ever got.
It's like, well, what do you mean? How related?
Actually, that was a weird
I
question.
think that's just your time in the South.
Yeah,
right,
you were in South Carolina. That was different.
That was a weird question. But the other weird question that had to do with whether or not or about our marriage was the first time we ever went to Las Vegas. And we came into the New York. And now I don't know if you've been to Las Vegas before, but they've got these all over Las Vegas.
Oh, they are real marriage, the little chapels?
Oh, yeah, they have those. We renewed our vows at one there. Elvis did it. We have it on video.
Of course.
Nice.
Excellent.
But they have timeshares.
Yeah.
So they would have the kiosks all over the place.
Yeah.
And they would try to get you to go to their timeshare thing.
I
And
got a little stress ball from one in Atlanta.
yeah. And so, but they this was the question.
Yeah.
We were walking up and we were green. This was our first, we hadn't even been there for like 12 hours yet. And the lady comes out and she goes, "Hey, are you guys married?" And we're like, "Yeah." "To each other?" "Yes."
Yes.
"Come here."
You don't know in Vegas,
Yeah.
man.
That's fair.
That's a common question in Vegas. To each other?
Yeah.
About 5 minutes ago. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we renewed our vows
renewed.
at
The little wedding chapel.
Graceland Wedding
Yeah.
Chapel.
Yeah.
Chapel.
Elvis down
That's
there
great.
Yep,
Yeah.
Elvis did do it. It was at the same one that Rob Zombie got married at. If it's good enough for Rob,
Hey.
why is it not good enough for me?
did. A sanctified house of the Lord.
Yep.
That's Ryan's claim to fame.
Anyway, go on.
Yeah.
I feel like you can't after that.
Yeah.
I
feel
got
like
nowhere to go.
I feel like you answered it though, DJ. Like that makes sense.
Does that make
But
sense?
like that, yeah.
As the why behind like not just the legal, but it affects a lot more.
It's also why the question about marriage outside of the norm throughout history, being one man and one woman, is always a question that needs a lot of thought to it. Why not one woman and three men, or two women and three men? Why can that not be meet, right, and salutary, as the Missouri Lutherans like to say?
Mm-hmm.
Why not two men or three men, or two women or three women?
Mm-hmm.
When you take out the importance of the commitment for the sake of the parties that are involved in the union, which always includes children, because from time immemorial, you can go back to ancient Greece. They had different rules about who's involved in the union and how they're involved with the union, but there was always a place for honoring and uplifting normatively as one man and one woman for the sake of the next generation. Even in class systems, where in Rome, where there was all kinds of slaves that were part of the family unit, and it's different than how slavery was in the United States, there's always this place for one man and one woman for legitimate offspring. And that's in a class system. We don't live in a class system in the United States. At least I hope we don't. It's supposed to be, the ideal at least, is that all men and women are created equal.
Mm-hmm.
But the union is meant to protect and sustain and nurture life. That's the whole purpose. So great care always needs to be brought in to understand, why would we redefine an institution that's older than the United States itself in something like marriage? Because it is an institution. It's not just something people do. We've made it into something that people do. And it just, there are times that divorce is necessary, but if it's become just a dissolution of the marriage contract, then what we're doing is we're turning marriage into something other than what it's meant to be. Divorce really is when this marriage has died
Mhm.
because the commitment has been broken, where one or the other is not honoring that and also honoring all who have a stake within that union. The state, friends,
Mhm.
family, children,
Mhm.
property, the land itself. I mean, that's everything that's affected because it's the most basic building block for society,
Mhm.
is the marriage contract.
Cool.
Okay, I'm gonna
Follow
pu- I'm gonna push now.
Okay.
I'm gonna
pu-
push.
Push.
Push
What,
where?
what about those who can't have children that get married?
I'm going to Tai Chi it.
Or what about people who just don't want children?
The union is still valid because what you want and what you can have can always be a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
The commitment still protects it,
Mm-hmm.
regardless
Okay.
of what your intention is or what you think is possible.
Okay.
Hmm.
All right.
Dayna, your iPad locked up. So I
Oh,
can't see my second question.
Oh yeah, you had two.
Oh, because I would add too, marriage again, it's not about children,
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
just like it's not about love. It's about commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And true commitment is where there is a consequence.
love just helps make that commitment a little bit easier.
The commitment creates the kind of love that we are individually desiring. It's desiring to be known and to be validated in who I am as I am, warts and all. And that's what love is created when two people, when a husband and a wife, choose daily to honor the other, to put their needs and wants above their own. When that's not happening, that's where symptoms enter into a marriage that can lead to breakdown and can ultimately end in divorce. In the ancient world, divorce was absolutely life or death because of the status of women and children within ancient society. It's less of a detriment that way in modern society because women can own property, and women have every legal right and advantage as any man does and should. And so the detriment is not like that, but it still causes major damage to individuals, to couples, to children, to communities, and ultimately to society as a whole.
Okay.
All right.
So is your second question a follow-up to this one?
No, it's totally
No.
different.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Different
Man,
thing.
split this episode, Dayna, right here.
Yep.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us in another episode of that podcast.
Riveting, blah, blah, blah. Riveting.
Heavenly Father, thank you for this time, Lord. Thank you for marriage. Thank you for the commitment that people make to one another, Lord. I pray for the people who are married, who are listening to this episode, that their relationship would be strong. For the people who are in committed relationships, Lord, I pray that you would watch over them and bless that relationship. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Again, you can find us at 4601 South University Drive in Fargo. That's North Dakota. You can also go online to atonementfargo.org or atonement.live, or you can also go to the YouTubes and search Atonement Fargo. For Dayna Mashevsky, Sarah DeYoung, and Pastor DJ Lura, I'm Ryan Jakey. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on another riveting episode of that podcast. Riveting.